power generation. He was appointed to this position in November 2013 and reports directly to Tom Mitchell, President and CEO. Prior to his appointment as CNO, Glenn was the Senior Vice President at Pickering Nuclear, appointed to this position in August 2011. Glenn was responsible for the strategic direction, planning, and execution requirements to achieve nuclear production targets at Pickering. While focusing on safety and reliability, Glenn joined OPG, formerly known as Ontario Hydro, in 1981 as a system engineer at Pickering. He has held positions of increasing responsibility with OPG in training as a project and systems engineer, shift manager, reactor projects manager, outage manager, maintenance manager, and a 2-year secondment to the World Association of Nuclear Operators in Atlanta. Upon his return from WANO, Glenn was appointed as Director of Operations and Maintenance at Pickering Nuclear, and then as Site Deputy Vice President at Darlington Nuclear. Wow. I feel so unaccomplished. Without any further ado, Glenn, can you please join us up here?
You know, I know what you mean by speaking notes, but usually when I get off track there, that's when I get into trouble.
Me too.
So I'm going to get into a lot of trouble this morning, probably. A bit about, just while this is coming up here, a bit about Ontario Power. We're the lowest cost and the only rate-regulated generator in the province. And not only that, 95% of the energy that we produce is greenhouse gas free. And we have some thermal plants, actually biomass plants in Atikokan and Thunder Bay we're looking at. And they've just recently gone into operation. And we also develop a lot of hydraulic energy, and as we speak, we're bringing on units at Lower Matagami, a new hydraulic generation for the first time in many, many decades. So we're quite proud of what we do for the province, and I think we do a very good job at it. Most importantly, we do it very safely. Now, when it comes to Darlington, Darlington produces 20% of the power needed by the province. Now, that's a lot of power, 1/5 of the power. And pretty much all the power that Toronto consumes each day, every minute. And we do it at the lowest cost in the province as a power producer, and we do it very safely. And how we produce the power is very important. I have to drive this, I guess. Sorry, there we go. You know, so it's very important. It's important not to just produce all that power, but we want to do it safely and we want to do it responsibly. Now, Darlington is the only multi-unit power plant outside the U.S. borders that has been assessed at performing at excellence. And if you go, I flipped already past the starting slide there, but it says striving for excellence. Well, our philosophy is we never actually ever get there because the bar is always being raised. And so we're always striving for excellence, continually trying to improve the plant. Refurbishment is very much about that as well. And generally, in terms of the performance of Darlington, it is a top performer in its class worldwide. So this is a very, very good performing plant. Now, Jennifer mentioned that over the last few weeks we've been very, very busy here. We've had a lot of interest, and in fact we had the Minister of Energy out here. You can actually catch his interview on the internet. If you go to the CTV or global websites, you can have a view of what he had to say. But really what he remarked on and what he touched on was that Darlington offers very, very good value. The refurbishment is at a much better cost than other alternatives when we compare it to other sources of generation that we could procure or build. So it's very competitive, and more importantly, it's a very, very good source of jobs, not just for the refurbishment itself, but also in the operation of the facility for many, many years. So I encourage you to, if you have some time and you're on the internet, go have a look at the interview, and he speaks at great length about Darlington and the upcoming refurbishment. So, just looking at Darlington, as I said, it's a top performing station. As we get into refurbishment, this is not a station that is limping, if you will, into refurbishment on its last legs. This station is in top performance, top condition, and there's many reasons why. We started out with a very solid design. It is one of the latest designs in the CANDU fleet. When we built Darlington, at that time, we had already started putting in place the programs that have been developed in the industry for maintaining stations at excellence. So Darlington has had the benefit of many, many years of operation in the nuclear industry that we implemented at Darlington right from the very beginning, and it's showing in terms of its performance. The team that we have at Darlington is experienced. We have in Ontario Power Generation a world-class training program, so everybody that comes into the company that works at Darlington goes through an extensive training program that has been benchmarked and is world-class. And as well, in terms of the depth and capability of the leadership team, we have a lot of depth, and we again have a very proven track record that's respected around the world. We apply lessons learned on a continual basis each and every day, so we're always looking in the industry what is happening, and we apply that directly to our operation. We've also done that for refurbishment. We've studied other refurbishments, other projects, and not just nuclear projects, but large projects extensively. Some of those projects are within OPG, and we have a lot of project experience that we can draw on. Talked about Lower Matagami. These are very large hydraulic projects. The Niagara Tunnel was another one. So we draw on that project management, and we're applying it to Darlington refurbishment. And strong community support. So we sit in a community that is very supportive. That is very important to us. We have a very capable and qualified workforce readily available. There's a lot of capability in the community to support Darlington. We have strong partnerships with the community in emergency planning and other things. This is very important to the health and success of the facility, and we recognize that. We work very hard on it, and we're very thankful for it as well. So when we do the refurbishment, we're planning for another very long run. So we've been running for 20 years. It's normal in the CANDU design to do a refurbishment midlife. It's necessary. And when we complete this, we expect another 30 years of operation afterwards. So what's in a refurbishment? Well, it starts with the reactor core. We replace all the components in the core. That's the pressure tubes that hold the fuel, the tubes that surround it in terms of the moderator, so that is the real core. We also replace all the piping that directs the coolant and the water to the fuel and to those pressure tubes. So we're really replacing the heart of the plant when we do the refurbishment. And this is a very large and complex undertaking. We've done it before. But we want to do it safely. We're applying new technology. It's a very difficult work because this unit has been operating, so obviously it's a reactor core that has been in service. So it's complex, it's a big undertaking, and that's where the majority of our attention is directed. But at the same time, when we shut down the units for this period of time, we want to make other improvements to the plant. The plant is safe, but it's a good opportunity to look at it and say, okay, based on all the experience worldwide, and Fukushima event is one example, we want to improve the safety margins of the plant. So we're going to do that. There's a lot of projects like adding standby generation, adding a new containment filter venting system. We're increasing the fire water and service water capabilities by adding additional capacity. These are all things that improve the margins of safety for the power plant and also its reliability. So it's very good. Now we don't just do this independently. There is also a regulatory framework that the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission has put in place that we have to do our refurbishment to. So they have set out a regulatory framework for all refurbishments in Canada and all, actually all operation, but specifically refurbishment. We have to meet all those regulations and operate within that regulatory framework. And there's oversight that's applied as a result of that as well. So, the big question often is, how are you going to keep a project this big on time and on budget? Get asked that a lot. Here's how we're going to do it. I'll let you in on the secret. We started out with, it's basically broken down in phases and chunks. We do it a bite at a time. The first phase, which we did, was, it's called the initiation phase. And really what that is looking at the business case. What is the economic envelope that we're going to do this within? What does it make sense? So we're looking at the price of power when we come out of it. How does that translate into the cost of the refurbishment? And as well, we look at the technical feasibility. So looking at the work that we have to do within that cost envelope, is it feasible? The answer is yes, because we moved on to the next phase, and also we had to discuss that with our shareholder, the province, of course, and the board of directors has to approve that before we go forward, and that's part of the oversight that is applied to what we do. The next phase is the execution preparation phase, and that's what we're in right now. That's where we do the detailed planning from top to bottom. We look at all the components in the power plant, every single one of them, and determine what do we need to do to ensure that this plant will continue to operate safely and reliably for another 30 years. And this is a very detailed undertaking. It's also needed as part of the regulatory framework, and out of that we generate a scope of work. And this scope of work is very detailed, very technical, and very exhaustive in terms of its look and scrutiny of the station. And then we get about the detailed planning and engineering of all the changes that we're going to make, the component replacements that we're going to do, and start to prepare to do the job. And that's what we've been doing. I encourage you to come out to the next open doors, which is I think this weekend at 8 o'clock. You can come and see the mock-up. It's a great example of the effort in terms of that execution planning and what we're doing to get ready. And then finally we move into the execution phase, and again this is a staged approach. We do a unit at a time, and we've carefully organized that so that we can apply lessons learned each step of the way. And I'll show you what that looks like right now. So the current estimate, the envelope that I was talking about is $10 billion. That's the economic envelope that we're operating within. Currently we're within that envelope, but we'll continue. We're still in the planning, detailed planning phase, so we continue to refine and build confidence on our estimates. And we've got a lot of strategies to maintain within that estimate. We've got multiple contractors. We've got a contracting strategy overall. We've also engaged a lot of external looks and benchmarking to assist us with that, so we're not just relying on our opinion, it's many others' opinions that have done work that's similar in the past. Now the funding for it is approved in stages, so every time we go through one of these phases, and in each stage, and actually with each unit outage, funding is approved. We've looked at our performance, how we've done up until that point, and the board of directors says, yeah, okay, continue. The province is also applying their own scrutiny to that, but every step of the way it's looked at what is our performance, how are we performing against that envelope, and will we continue? So there's quite a bit of scrutiny there. Now I would also say there's a lot of oversight applied to the project. Number one, we have internal OPG oversight, and that's a lot of scrutiny just in itself, but we also have independent oversight that's been commissioned by the board of directors. The province has its own oversight of the project, And as well, there's all the other oversight that is normally applied to our business, such as from the regulator, because there's that regulatory framework. They want to make sure it's being executed within that regulatory framework. There's also peer oversight. We're part of INPO and WANO, the World Association of Nuclear Operators. They're also there to apply oversight and assist us as we move through each of these phases, ensuring their main mandate is safety, ensuring that we move through this safely and come out with a station that is safe and will be very reliable. So we rely on them as well. If you look at the schedule, we get through the detailed plan, we get into the outages. The total outage program will take about 10 years to execute. The refurbishment actually takes place in 2 outages. There's one very large outage where we do all those core components and the major system replacements or enhancements. But there's also a subsequent planned outage where we do all the additional work, some of the component replacements and other system enhancements. So it actually spans 2 outages. And that second outage is a normal outage that we would take anyways, but it's all within that refurbishment window. The outage program, you see the first unit, or the second unit rather, doesn't start until the first unit is done. And that was a key strategy that we adopted, where we said, you know what, we're going to do one outage from stem to stern, completely make sure we extract all the lessons learned, all the things that we could have done better, and give us enough time to then apply that to the next outage. And that is a key strategy to de-risk and ensure that we, again, strive for excellence. The building that you're sitting in houses a large amount of people that are doing all the detailed plan. This whole building is dedicated to refurbishment. It houses all the administrative and engineering and operations personnel that will execute and are doing the detailed planning for refurbishment. As well, it has the mock-up, and this is the first of its kind in the industry. We've built a full-scale reactor mock-up to allow us to rehearse every aspect of that core replacement. And this is very, very important. It's never been done. It allows us to take the tooling, which has been developed by many vendors, different vendors, integrate it, bring it together, do the tool proving on the exact same conditions where we will operate in the plant. So, and all the way from moving it through the plant right to the reactor face, it's identical in every respect, within a millimeter. So it allows the crews to actually fully rehearse and fully train on everything that they're going to do down in the station. And it allows us to look at those sequences, enhance them, optimize them, and do time trials so we know exactly what we have to achieve, and relate that back to our bounding estimate. Are we still within our estimate? Can we still do this? Keep revisiting that. So this is a first of a kind in the industry. It will pay dividends both in safety, the dose that the workers receive as a result of doing the work, and in terms of certainty and confidence in our ability to complete the project on time and on budget. And again, I encourage you to come out on Saturday and have a look. It really is quite something to see. And it will give you a view on what it's like in the station, which unfortunately we can't show you, but it'll give you a great view on it. So thank you to the Board of Trade for the opportunity to speak with you this morning, and Sheila. And again, it's very critical that we have strong community support. You mentioned UOAT is here. Students, we appreciate that support as well. Many students come to work for us, and many of the vendors that operate in the area support us as well. And we certainly appreciate that. I'll take any questions
We'll take a couple of questions. We're going to try and keep on schedule, so there will be people milling around all day that you can ask questions if you don't get a chance now. But so if anybody has a question for Glenn now.
How did you come up with the allocated budget of 10 million? How did that How did you arrive at that number?
You come at it from two directions. One, you look at, it's what we call the top-down approach, where we say, okay, what is the unit energy price, target price that we would like to achieve or stay within? So that defines the top-down envelope, and then we do a bottom-up, what we call a bottom-up approach, which is really starting with the work. So you look at all the work, and you go out to vendors, contractors, obtain estimates and quotes from them. You do your own planning estimates based on project experience and our knowledge of working on these types of jobs. And you start to compile, and these two should meet top-down and bottom-up. So try and meet the target as well as the detailed planning of the work. Now, some of that is preliminary, but as we move through the year, we'll continue to refine and get better and better or higher confidence in those estimates. What it will accumulate in is in October of next year is we have what we call the release quality estimate. So that's the stake in the ground where we say, okay, we've done enough planning, we've done enough rehearsal, enough scrutiny. This is the estimate based on what we know at that time before actually executing.
Do you have it broken down into specific applications, like for example, safety, emergency situations, or
yes.
that nature?
Yes.
Is that how you?
It's broken down in. You can view it in terms of slices. The slice that you're talking about would be what we would call a functional slice. So, what is the estimate for radiation protection, safety applications, engineering, maintenance, operations? Those are like horizontal slices. And then if you want to view it another way, we have the work slices. So on every specific job, we'll look at an estimate. There are gates. Not only are there gates for the project as a whole, but there are quality gates and estimate gates for each specific job where it's challenged, and we say, okay, we're going to work on this valve or this pump to replace it, for example. The cost is this. Does that make sense? And it gets a lot of scrutiny from that standpoint as well. So it's sliced a bunch of different ways, all comes together in terms of a total estimate. So we're still in progress on that. So stay tuned. But end of next year is where we release that final estimate, October 2015. Good question. Yes, sir.
When you start refurbishment on the first reactor, do the other three, can they keep up with energy demand?
Okay, another great question. Now I'm going to say that's outside my job description. And here's why. What you're asking about is capacity in the province. Yeah. Okay. Now, the other units obviously keep running. Pickering will be running also. And the capacity in the province is managed by the Ontario Power Authority. So they look at total generation in the province. What do they need to go buy? What will somebody build perhaps in terms of meeting the capacity or the needs of the province going forward? So there may be power purchases that take place during that period of time. There may be generation which normally sits idle in reserve that would be used during that period of time. The bottom line is, yes, there's adequate capacity in the province to facilitate the refurbishment right now. If you look far out in the future, that's where the guessing starts. You know, what will happen to the load? And current forecast is a moderate, very, very moderate to no load growth. If that were to change substantially, the answer to your question would be quite different. You know, where will that capacity come from? And the thing to keep in mind is Bruce Power also has its own refurbishments to do on roughly the same timeline. I don't know the exact timeline. So that's additional capacity coming off the grid. But today, as we stand, yes, there's adequate capacity to do it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, before you go away, everybody that knows me, I'm a bit of a storyteller. So we have a thank you gift that we're going to be presenting to our speakers today. And our friends at Hooper's Jewelers, every year they do a fundraising for Memorial Hospital Foundation. And so this is a little holiday trinket, but attached to it is a donation to the hospital. So
Very nice.
thank you so much for your time. And anybody that wants to buy one of those angels, just go to Hoover's Jewelers while they're in stock, because they do sell them every year. I'm going to pass it over to Bonnie now to